Hi everyone, number one Marmaduke fan here. A few weeks ago, I shot a video while I was stuck in the airport overnight where I had the thesis that Usagi Yojimbo is the comic book you want with you when your flight is canceled and you're trapped in the airport all night. And I've been catching up on comic books I've had waiting to read that I was letting pile up and not getting caught up with. And I'm catching up with Usagi Yojimbo The Hidden. This is a new series by Stan Sakai that's been coming out for the past year. And my comic book shop owner let me know about it when he heard I liked Usagi Yojimbo, and I'm just now digging into it, and I am so happy. I think one reason I was hesitant to jump into this at first was I kept looking at this goofy horse and thinking, "Ah, man, I'll read something else." But I absolutely love this first issue, and this is another good example of Sakai's mastery of the craft, his mastery of using pacing to immerse you into a story, and using intrigue and balancing his themes well for the context of a story. So the elephant in the room, for if you are not familiar with Usagi Yojimbo and Stan Sakai, is that Stan Sakai does not draw with sort of a cutesy chibi style or a cutesy Disney style. He kind of draws in a grungy cartoon animal style. And, sometimes you'll get like horses with sort of wonky faces like this one, but I think it really fits for the style of story Stan Sakai likes to tell, which is really good retellings or remixings of classic Japanese samurai films. This one actually reminds me of some Zatoichi films where Zatoichi will uncover a secret group of Christians, Kirishitans, they call them. And I'm just going to flip through some of the pages of this to talk about how Sakai is pacing his story. Number one thing that Stan Sakai does is he uses pauses, he uses quiet moments, and he uses variety to build things. So, quiet scene, quiet scene, quiet scene. But then as the little dinosaur creature hears something approaching, we're at a low angle, a little bit more drama. Boom, the horses explode out towards us. He doesn't copy and paste digitally his drawing. So then these samurai show up and they've got this real grungy look to them, and they're clearly desperate in every panel and every page. It's clear to us that these samurai are desperate and someone's in pursuit of them. And there's this comic bit with these two guards saying, "Oh, well, we'll be super tough and we won't let the next group be rude to us." And then someone important shows up. Now, I don't know what this means or who this guy is, but the reaction of the two doofus guards communicates to me that this is really important. Since they were hesitant to let the last guy in and they let this guy right through, that symbol must mean something really important. And the chase is on. There's like a kind of heroic sacrifice where one guy goes back. Now here's where you can see it. I don't see anyone draw animal characters quite the way Stan Sakai does. And sometimes it's really wonky and really weird, but it works for his world. He doesn't tell you a cutesy image of Japan. He shows you a samurai movie style grungy image of Japan. Even conventions like this, Sakai will draw like little skulls. He's the only one I've seen do this. This is Sakai borrowing something out of Japanese culture. You've seen this in anime, like the character will die or get hit and you'll see the little ghost coming out of their mouth and they'll draw it cute. Well, he draws a skull to help Western audiences understand that this is death. These characters have died and the soul is escaping the body. So when he borrows from Eastern culture, he takes care to explain it to an audience that isn't familiar with Japanese culture. He contextualizes things in the context of his narrative. Now here's this. If this was a Marvel comic, this dude would have been copy-pasted here and here. Because Stan Sakai redraws it, he can show an angle like this, neutral, and then a second angle that's more dynamic, pointing out at us. So both the poor grungy samurai end up dead in the alley, and this cheetah thief notices the dead body and grabs something. Now there's this great chase scene where he runs away, and I love this. He walks the bamboo over and all of this cloth drips down. This curves up, curve comes down on this bamboo stick. The bamboo is crazy. It's a chaotic scene where things are falling down and falling over each other, but most of the bamboo points us at this important dude who's framed by the fabric, and there are, billows of cloth that are pretty simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 billows of cloth, which lets us know, okay, the cloth is falling down on them from above, but it's not like a tangled mess. It's a few simple shapes. So the well-armed samurai who killed the two rough-looking samurai, they lose the thief, and they decide they're going to cover up the bodies so that no one knows who they don't want to leave any identifying marks on the 2 dead samurai they hunted down. So he says, "Well, wait till morning." Look at this little thin scene. So when I say that Sakai does filmic comics, he's borrowing ideas from Japanese film. That means he thinks of pacing, and he thinks of framing and composition and the feel and rhythm of his comic pages. But then he also does things that are purely comics. A skinny little horizontal panel with the sunrise, which was mentioned in the previous panel, to give us a change of transition. So it's like we get a breather, new day, and it's our boy Usagi Yojimbo exploring. Line variety, thick lines in the front, thin lines in the back, and Usagi always kind of looks like a tough Toshiro Mifune type character. Balance, so if when one group of people is balanced by a group of people on the other side, he considers where the people are looking so that we're not just like, pointing right off the page. This, like a little scenic scene. I love that there's a guy with a hatchet chasing this kid who's stolen a fish. It adds a sense of life and vivaciousness to the city scene. So Usagi approaches, and before he's allowed to enter, he must step on this plaque. And he doesn't really get it. So he steps on the cross plaque, and he enters the scene, and he meets Inspector Ishida. And Inspector Ishida explains who the Kirishitans are. Christians whose religion has been outlawed by the shogun. And this is just great. This is great storytelling, because religion is being used as an element of the story. It's being explained in kind of a fair way that fits with the characters. Ishida explains Christianity like someone who doesn't particularly hate Christians, but doesn't really quite get entirely what the Christian religion is. And Usagi reacts to it as someone who had never heard of the religion before might. Crucifixion is a punishment reserved for criminals, and so their God was judged. They worship a criminal? Their beliefs can be very complicated. This is great storytelling. This is fantastic. And the thing is, I don't know what Stan Sakai believes about religion. I don't see any kind of meta-textual commentary on religion in this. He knows that Kirishitans were an important part of the culture and history of Japan. He wants to tell a story with that. So he brings his audience in to the world and helps. Not only is he explaining Christianity to people who somehow may not know what Christianity is, he's helping us understand the perspective of people who don't know what Christianity is, to people for whom that is a foreign religion. And so then the Inspector Ishida explains that's why the placards are there. You step on the cross to prove that you are not loyal to this foreign religion, that you are more loyal to the shogun. And they discover the dead body. This might be a little weird moment. So this balloon, I thought it was pointing at Usagi at first, but it's pointed at this guy. Even when there's a confusing moment, Sakai takes care. This is the only guy who has his mouth wide open. He's talking. Nope, no mouth, no mouth. He's got his mouth open a little bit, but that's what helped me understand that Usagi's not talking, this guy is talking. Maybe if he had pointed that a little bit differently, I'd have gotten it instantly. But even when there's like a minor moment where I pause a bit and have to look at it again to reinterpret things, Sakai is still taking care to try to help me understand things and keep moving through. So that's really the only moment in the entire comic where I just paused and was aware of the convention. Otherwise, I'm just in the story, enjoying it. Usagi makes a smart observation. This guy can't be a Ronin. His clothes are far too nice for him to be a wandering, essentially homeless samurai. And they discover the other body, and it's a cross. He was a Kirishitan. Perfect. This issue explained what Kirishitans are from the perspective of Japanese who've never heard of them before. The dead body, we've now made this discovery about it, and there's intrigue. Well, who are these Kirishitans? What was the mysterious package? What is its importance? This is fantastic storytelling. Now, when you think about it, all that happened is like there was a chase scene, the guys died, Usagi shows up, he investigates the scene a bit, and they find out that we don't even know what the significance of this is yet. But the promise is gold. And because it's Filmic Comics, in the debate over pacing for the trade, where the idea is on one side you have an issue be a complete self-contained story, and on the other side an issue is part of a broader story. This is a 7-issue series. Even though this is a chapter 1 kind of moment, this feels satisfying as a self-contained comic. I want to know what happens next, so it's not like this is a completely self-contained story, but it feels like a satisfying ending which wraps up the setup. We were explained what Kirishitans are. We get a hook that this is going to be an important part to this Usagi Yojimbo story. Fantastic. He writes a neat little column just sort of explaining the history of why Kirishitans at first the religion started to be popular in Japan, and then it became banned and then suppressed even more harshly. Obviously, this was a time of sacralism, or of the Christian religion being intimately connected with state functions. So that affects the story a little bit. Christians did some bad stuff. There was some political motivation and some financial motivation to some Christian conversions, but the characters we're clearly interested in is the Kakuri Kirishitan, or the hidden Christians, the Japanese Christians who wanted to retain their faith after the hard powwow came down from the shogun. And so this is a really interesting, gripping idea for storytelling. It's obvious I'm kind of interested in this. I think in college, when I first got interested in Japan, I wrote a little short story about a Jesuit who is forced to train as a samurai. So I did a little, Wikipedia level reading about some of this stuff. And I'm so happy to see Sakai is using this period of Japanese history for an Usagi Yojimbo story. He has brought elements of religious faith and politics, the politics of religious faith, into a story where the promise isn't, I'm going to lecture you about what I think about the superiority of Buddhism or Christianity over one another. He is using that as an interesting historical point to tell a fantasy samurai story. Fantastic start. So this is from before April. I think it was maybe February or March this came out this year. But there is maybe still a chance your comic shop will have some back issues. Check out Midtown Comics, but dope start. Absolutely dope. This is my retreat from bad superhero stories now. There's still some good superhero stories, but Stan Sakai is someone who loves his craft and consistently is almost single-handedly carrying on the tradition of great Japanese samurai movie style stories. Give this to your weeb friend to broaden their horizons a little bit. I think they will have a blast. I'm #1 Marmaduke fan. Love you guys, and I'll catch you later.